Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 33 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I'm David.
This is JP.
We are here to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. We want to just do a little bit of an update on some of the events that we've got, and then we'll get into our main topic of the day. We had our Bug Eater a few weeks ago. Alex, do you want to give kind of a summary of how things went and sort of what your impressions of the event were?
Yeah, I thought Bug Eater overall for the weekend went fairly well. We had a team tournament Saturday, or I'm not Saturday, Friday. It was all local. No, we had five locals and one guy from out of town, Keenan. Shout out to you for being the only one showing up on Friday from out of town. But that day did teach, like I did learn from that one. I think for next year, I'm going to make it later in the day if I choose to do a team tournament, because I've come to find out that it's just hard for people to show up at noon on a Friday. Saturday was just a challenger event, basic challenger event. Went great. It had 17 people. Decent amount of out-of-towners. Glad to see some more from Iowa. The Harvester showed up too. Shout out Garrett for coming out and trying to round up more Iowa dudes. And then Sunday was our What If. We had 8 people for that. Yeah, 8 people. That sounds right. All locals, but that's okay. From what I heard, this year What If was a little more eventful and a lot more fun, just with the ideas that I came up with.
Yeah, why
sorry, Tom.
Why don't you share what the changes were?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I didn't share them on any of the episodes. So each round of What If, I come up with rules that break the rules, essentially. Things that normally would not be allowed, or things that were allowed but are removed, or were removed at some point. So round 1, I made it a What If leaderships just worked, or you got to change leaderships. So it's similar to like versatile strategy. I allowed players that if they were affiliated at squad selection and had multiple leaders of the same affiliation, they got to pick a new between the leaderships each round. But if you were not affiliated at squad selection, you got to select the leadership and you got to use that leadership for the game. And then round 2, again, sorry, Tom. Round 2 is where I took the rules for alter egos and got rid of them. You could put as many of the same alter ego on the table, and have fun. I will be putting a limit on that if I do it again. We are not going to allow 2 Hulks at the same time. JP, you got your load. You blew it. That was your one chance.
That's all I needed.
That's fair. One and done. Round 3.
I will say on that though, that was the time I got to play 5 Sentinels on the table, and I'm not sure I've ever had more fun with a Crisis Protocol game.
We bent the rules a little bit for Patrick because Sentinels are so bad. He got to play 1 threat higher.
I think the game. Did Michael play at 21 too?
Yeah, Michael played up at 21 too.
Okay, so you just added a point.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then round 3, I made it a What If gym bearers didn't matter. Someone was like, I don't remember the exact wording in the name, but basically, you got to select 1 model that is not normally a gym bearer, and they got to be a gym bearer of any gym, and it was a free gym, and it cost no power to use the gym. Turns out Abomination with a space gym is really fucking good. A free space gym.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Gladiator with an old school reality gym is also pretty good.
Strange with Space Jam was pretty good too.
What gym did you take, JP?
I took space on Hulkbuster. It was good.
It sounds like space was space and reality were the most popular. That doesn't surprise me.
So what do we got? So what do we got coming up next?
Next up is Big Beef. It's in July. It's July 19th and 20th. Saturday, July 19th is Basic Challenger event. Hour and a half rounds. It is not a qualifier. I tried real hard to get it to be a qualifier, but I was told we already had a couple to begin with, so no big deal. But it does count for LVO points. And then Saturday is 3-man team tournament. So I'm trying to get a team tournament to work here. For the team tournament, you cannot repeat characters or crisis cards. Tactics cards you can repeat.
And what was the date of that again?
July 19th and 20th.
Okay. And if people want to sign up, what should they do?
Sign up on Longshanks. I've got Longshanks links that we'll share.
Okay.
But yeah, it's $20 a day. $20 for Saturday, $20 for Sunday.
And we'll put the Longshanks link in the show description. So you'll, if you if you want, if that's something that you want to go to, then you'll have the information right there.
I do want to mention this year, because last year was the first Big Beef, and sadly but happily, good bad, MCP was an addition, and when we got added, they unfortunately did not have enough time to get us a championship belt. But this year we do have a championship belt, so whoever wins gets a pretty badass belt.
That's
Okay.
actually
Sounds
pretty sweet.
So
I'm here for it.
I mean, so if webheads, if you're anywhere near the Omaha area, or if you're anywhere near an airport that can get you to the Omaha area, I mean, you got a belt that's coming to you. Why wouldn't you want to come? So sign up. We'd love to see you. Okay, so now we're going to move into our main topic of the day, which is tilting. You know, we've had between Squad Goals and Bug Eater, we had a couple of events, and we were just kind of talking and thought that that might be something that's worth having a discussion about, something that's worth thinking about, just kind of as a quality of life for those of us that are playing the game. So let's start. Let's just start right at the top. David, can you explain exactly what tilting means, or when we talk about tilting, what is it specifically that we're saying?
So I actually had this happen to me on Friday at our release event. So I was playing against Brian and he had X-Men and he brought Phoenix. And the game was going pretty like it was I mean, I think I was winning for I want to say 3 rounds or something like that. And I had a round where I had set up to get priority and then Helios. I had dazed Phoenix and then I had planned to Helios Unleashed when I got prio on the next round. So I did the thing. I activated Tony. I spent a bunch of my power. I think I attacked somebody first and then I spent a bunch of power. I did a 26 dice Helios into Phoenix. And between his blocks and Xavier's dream, she lived on 1. And then proceeded to completely annihilate my team when she activated. I think she KO'd my Iron Man. She dazed Nightcrawler. She got Kitty to 1, and she got Colossus to 1, I think, because I had to bodyguard or I had to taunt to keep Chuck from getting like annihilated by it. And then I was just like that round ended with me basically I had 0 points and like he scored like 7 or 8 or something like that. And I was just like, "Oh my god." Like the tilt factor just like went. I was like, if this Helios would have gotten rid of Phoenix, I would have never even had to worry about this. And then it was like once that was happening, it was compounding even more because he was like rolling insane blocks when he needed to roll blocks. And so there was a couple spots where there was one spot where I rolled attack dice and he rolled a bunch of blocks and I looked at the dice and I was like, oh, and I just picked it up and I didn't think about it. And then I was like, oh, wait, I could re-roll some of these dice and see if I could push the damage. I think I needed to get like 1 damage through to somebody. And basically I had gotten flustered, and getting flustered in the process made me make mistakes, which like I made a mistake of like not I should have placed the objective that Phoenix dropped close enough so Nightcrawler could pick it up, but instead I just kind of put it on the table and didn't really like actually plan where it was going to go because I was just so like flustered that it took me so much work to do all that. I actually ended up like calming myself back down and then I almost won that game. But the Nightcrawler mistake was what ended up making me a point down because Nightcrawler wasn't holding anything. And it was really so hard like when you're like, "Oh, I got the thing and I'm doing all the stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, I have this big Helios and I think I rolled like 17 or 18 damage with the Helios." So I was like, "Oh, I was feeling pretty good about it, but it just like completely like it just like raised my blood pressure and I just couldn't. It made me make more mistakes, which probably shouldn't. Like I should have thought about it more and tried to like recognize that the Helios was kind of I needed it to go. I needed the dice on the Helios to go better than average to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured I was rolling so many dice and I had rerolls that I could do the thing. But I realized that like in that moment it's very difficult to like not let yourself be affected by the dice rolls. And yeah, I mean, I at least didn't get like outwardly angry, but I was definitely very close to tilted.
Yeah, it's the most tilted I've probably seen you. I think
Agreed.
one other time might have been like at one of the team tournaments in Kansas City, maybe. I can't remember what the game was. Oh, it was what was it? It doesn't matter. You were having like a lot of attacks and things go bad in the game.
Was it that game that I almost death clocked?
No, it was a different one where I think maybe you were playing against Webs or.
Oh, I think I was playing Quentin. Maybe that game was just like so close.
Yeah, I think that's
like,
the one.
And then Quentin had gotten mad because he didn't realize that what's that stupid card that you could that you would usually play into Webs, Mark for Death. He didn't realize that Mark for Death didn't make all of ASM's moves slow. So when I spendered, I could move my full distance. And then we had gotten into an argument about whether I could or not. And I knew that the rules were that he could. And so we were really like heated about it and had to call Judge.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the one. It might have been a different one. But yeah, it's pretty rare. I don't see it get tilted too much.
JP, how would you describe what it is to be tilted? I mean, when we say that, when you say that, what exactly? I mean, I think it's kind of clear in context, but what exactly do you mean when you say that?
Well, I don't think. I think the traditional meaning of tilted is getting mad and making mistakes. I guess I simplified a little bit more. Just getting mad. I mean, getting angry typically results in making mistakes, but not always. When I say tilted, I'm just talking about someone getting upset about the game to the point where they are noticeably upset. Like, I do get tilted, but I don't feel like it. It's kind of rare, and I don't feel like it really impacts my decision making in the game. But I do get frustrated sometimes, and I will get outwardly emotional about just dice streaks or just randomness that happens in the game that's just outlier like outlier rolls that aren't supposed to happen, like in a sequence or a scenario that just is backbreaking or gives your opponent so much advantage in the game.
Alex, how about you? What are your kind of thoughts just in general on what it means to be tilted?
So it definitely is a situation where uh, the game state changes because I just from my experience and what I because I am victim of tilting too. It affects the game state, and it just kind of you can tell it if their attitude is affected. Uh, it just puts bad vibes throughout the rest of the game when you get tilted, and um, thinking about it, I don't think I've seen a single person, at least locally, not get tilted at some point. Not that it's bad and like you know saying people are bad when they do it, but it just it's part of playing a game. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've when we were at Squad Goals the end of the first day, I got tilted pretty bad in my last game into one of our locals, Robert. It had been a long day. I was tired. I was frustrated. The games, the other two games hadn't gone very well, and Gladiator was just eating my lunch, and I was embarrassed, and I, I got really, you get really emotionally dysregulated, and it's almost like I don't remember what happened in the rest of the game, and I just had to kind of go walk around and cool off. But it was a bad experience, and it's having that has kind of really made me kind of rethink things in terms of how I'm approaching things. So maybe that's the conversation to have is, Alex, I think you're right. It's, we all put a lot of energy and a lot of time into the game. And when things aren't going well, how do you feel it? I guess how do you feel that coming up, and what kind of steps do you take either to head it off or to try to slow it down? David, what kind of thoughts or strategies do you have for that?
Well, I just want to say first about playing my brother. My brother is, oh my God, sometimes he's just so like, he gets like, he's just like aggressive with models. So he'll just be throwing stuff at you. So like sometimes you're like, he just likes to roll dice. And so
Sure.
sometimes he'll just like, you'll be like, oh my God, this is like just wrecking me right now.
And that was certainly what was happening. Although it was as much as anything, I was angry with myself because I saw how I put myself in a spot where that could happen, and it just I think Gladiator with his confidence token mechanic is probably one of the characters that it's pretty easy to tilt against because once that once that train gets rolling, it's pretty hard to get off the tracks and he can start doing awful things to a lot of people very quickly. So, but that's I mean obviously that's no reason to act childish or to try to be anything other than trying to make the game an enjoyable experience for both players. So so anyway, so when you feel that come in, because it sounds you said that at the release event that you kind of were feeling yourself getting emotionally dysregulated, but then you were able to calm down and put that back together. So how did how did you notice in yourself that that was happening, and how were you able to kind of get the wheels back on the road?
Well, the first thing I would say is shout out to Pat Dunford because I think it was his episode on the episode Across the Bifrost, he was talking about when you get into that position where you're like feeling yourself starting to tilt and that the game is just going completely sideways, is to like focus on what you can control and not worry about if things you can't. And previous rounds and previous dice rolls, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter. Like you can't change any of that. So you just got to try to move forward. And the way I do it is usually I will look at the board state and go, okay, what's the thing that I need to do here to get something going? Right? Like I need to I need to daze this model and take this model's extract, or I need to like secure this side of the board, or like just whatever little steps you can take to try to dig yourself out of the hole. You have to like recognize what you need to do and then just start trying to do that. And then once you start trying to do that, and then like some of the dominoes start to fall down, and you're like, okay, I'm feeling this, like I can do this, right? So that's usually what I do. I kind of try to look at the state of the game and try to see if there's a way to like solve the puzzle of how to get out of this hole, right?
And like typically when you're tilting, it's because of something that made you be in a losing position. So sometimes when you're in that spot, you kind of have to look for more aggressive plays, like almost Hail Marys. Well, I mean that's at the very end of the spectrum, but like there's a kind of a sliding scale for your risk reward plays, depending on how far behind you are at that point. But sometimes it's like, well, I have to move here. I have to throw an attack. I have to daze this character with this attack. I have to, like, all these things have to happen, and you just have to go for it.
Well, yeah, and at that point, like, what's the worst that could happen? You lose more. Like, you're already losing.
I mean, yep.
Alex, how about you? When you kind of feel that kind of bubbling up, what do you try to do to avoid it, or to try to mitigate it if nothing else?
So I have a good example from Friday as well. JP and I we played each other round one for the release event, and boy, his dice were on fucking fire, and my dice just would not cooperate. At least roll as good as his, because like I would say they were about average, but man, it was just frustrating. So this is the second fastest I've seen Apocalypse get taken out. Apocalypse was taken out top round three, like KO top round three. It was rough. But I knew then at that point it's like, well, I cannot recover from it, and I just didn't want to make myself more frustrated. And JP and I both knew the state of the game because I think somebody else was knocked out by then too. I was 3 models going into 4 basically untouched models. It was a game over for me.
I think was it Magic?
I
I think
think it was
Magic was
Magic.
she was either dazed or KO'd.
Yeah, and somebody else, Toad, ended up getting dazed. And
I don't think I
that
did
was it.
anything to Beast or Blob.
No, but like Beast and Blob were not going to be able to pick out Thor, Bill,
Oh no,
Jane,
no,
like
no way.
untouched, might I add. So I just out of respect for JP, I was like, honestly, there's no need for us to continue. And I knew it was bubbling up, so I took a moment to breathe, took a look at the state of the game, and I was like, I can't win this. I talked to JP and was like, well, I know I've lost. Do you want to continue? And he was fine with just calling it there. But I just knowing as I feel it bubbling up. I really just take a moment recently. I've just been taking moments to look at the state of the game, and if I still have a chance, I look at the positive aspect to it and say, if I can do this, this, and this, it becomes a better game, and I have a chance. But if it's not a positive outcome, there's just no way of getting a positive outcome. In casual situations or locally, I'll just talk to my opponent and be like, do you want to continue or do you want to just wait for another game? But when I travel, I'm going to play it out the best I can. And kind of like what David was talking about at the beginning, I'll just do cool things. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm going to roll the dice, and if the dice agree with me and I win, even better.
Something interesting that I thought of as a personal thing when I'm like reflecting on tilt. I don't tilt against strangers. I don't know if that's something that I do. I feel like it might be intentional because I don't want a person who I've never met to like have a really uncomfortable situation and like get a bad impression of me maybe. Like locally, like everybody knows me and like it's whatever. Like people tilt locally. I mean, we get over it, we laugh about it later, whatever. But like in a situation where I'm against a stranger, I don't think I've ever tilted. And usually tilt comes from just like frustration, like a pattern of things. Like I feel like whenever I play David, he'll like pop off with some like crazy attack like the beginning of the game and just like throw shit, like put me on the back foot like immediately. And it, like almost always happens. And I'm like, there's David's dice again. So shit like that, like pattern recognition. Like if a stranger spikes on me, like in a game, or have multiple spikes, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. There's no pattern there. Like dice spike in this game. Not gonna get mad about it, but if you have an opponent locally who something always happens in your games, that's usually what tilts me. Or if there's just a game, sometimes you'll have those games that are just so fucking stupid that you can't help but tilt. Like the dice are just so inequitable. Like there's no way to reconcile that shit.
That game you had with Will, where
Oh my
his
God.
dice were insane.
Cable one shots Bill round 1, and then one shots Okoye with the second attack. I'm just like, okay. And then the fucking the butt rape did not cease. It was just, and I pulled that game out somehow. I don't know. I had to have a lot of shit happen. David was watching the whole thing. I had to have a lot of shit happen for me to actually seal the deal. And I went for him. I'm like, okay, Cage has to like one shot Domino here, and he has to do this, and then this has to happen. Like all the shit happened, and I was able to pull it out. But if any of those things had not happened, at the end, I just lose.
I know for me, the times where I've really kind of gotten into my feelings about that, or really kind of lost control, was I think we all struggle with, at some level, tying our own self-image into kind of what happens on the board. And I know that I think at the end of the day, when I've kind of lost it, it's not when I'm frustrated. It's more when I feel embarrassed. And you know, I've really, particularly after that incident at Squad Goals, it's really kind of made me take a hard look at sort of like, okay, why am I doing this? What's the point of all this? I mean, at the end of the day, we are putting toy soldiers on a table and pushing them around and rolling dice about it. So, is it, you know, why in the world would I link? Why in the world should I feel bad about myself because something bad happened in a game? That's when you say it out loud like that, it's stupid. And the more I have been trying to talk to myself to remind myself of that as we go on. I mean, since then I've had some games and I've had some I've some pretty good beatdowns, but it's kind of back to the game. When I first started this game, one of the things that I really liked about it was a game that was really fun to play when you lose. And I kind of feel like getting a better perspective has got me back to that. So it's been much healthier, at least for me.
I will also, one of the things I will do is I will blame my models. Like, for instance, Miles. Like, that dude I cannot get that dude to roll his fucking kick for shit. Like, that dude never gets his stupid kick. I'm like, oh, I gotta roll up. I got 6 dice. No kick. I needed the kick. Damn it.
Maybe those are games that you're not playing against me.
See, your mouse gets that kick every goddamn dice roll, and he could be shocked with 3 dice and gets the kick. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
What that one time with your Red Skull, JP, where I needed to get hit, like I got him to 1, and the kick would have got the days, but I failed the kick, and so then he's just like standing there and just gets annihilated by Red Skull.
I don't remember this particular anecdote, but that checks out.
I feel like we're getting into something else that I kind of had thought about too, which is kind of a sample size issue. I mean, at the end of the day, they're 8-sided dice, and when you roll enough of them, enough times, the results will even themselves out. That is a scientific certainty. But the question always is when you roll them enough, and the games or sometimes series of games always end up where you just have a small sample size bias issue where you play against somebody, and in your small sample size their dice are nuclear or your dice are ice cold or whatever it may be. And one of the things, almost as an article of faith, I keep trying to tell myself, dice even themselves out. Dice even themselves out. You remember the really bad things, and those are really, really forefront in your mind. It's much harder. I think we just in general forget or don't put much stock into. It's much easier to remember the bad things with dice than the good things that happen to you with dice, and so the bad things end up getting disproportionately magnified in your memory.
Yeah, I think another thing to keep in mind is that Marvel, I mean, to kind of echo what you're saying, dice are just crazy, and dice are random anyway, but Marvel dice are even crazier. I feel like a decent amount of times when I've tilted, I've actually ended up winning the game, and sometimes like the dice turn quickly to where like you might be like really tilted out by a sequence of dice rolls, and then it just swings back in your favor like with a vengeance, and then you almost I almost feel embarrassed at that point because like I just got tilted about this, and now I'm like winning the game, like on the next round. This isn't like I don't tilt often. Like I don't want to make it sound like. Well, I think we don't want to make it sound like we tilt all the time, but
No, but I think I think it's important at some level to say that some level of frustration and anger and emotional dysregulation is, I think, happens. I feel comfortable in saying anybody anybody who has played this game long enough, anybody who is interested into and wanting to get better at the game long enough to have listened this far into a podcast about this game has had some kind of experience like this. So like you said, I don't think tilting isn't by itself anything that is indicative of you as a jerk or a bad person or anything like that. It just means you're human. It just means that you're doing something that you've invested some emotional capital in, and that's it's a result of that investment. The part that comes out in terms of who you are as a player and a person is how you respond to that. I mean, I had to go at squad goals. I had to go take a walk around the mall, but I went back to Robert and I just straight up apologized and said that was bullshit. That you didn't deserve that, and this is not an experience that you should have had. And that made me feel better about it. But I think it happens to everybody. So I think that's probably why it's worth a conversation on the cast to talk about what it is, and just to talk through some strategies about what to do about it. I guess that's why I thought this would be a good topic to get into.
I will say, don't be that guy. Don't be throwing dice or slamming models or, man, that's just like you gotta not. If you need to step away from the table, just be like, hey, I need to take a step away from the table right now. But like, don't be throwing dice or stuff like that. That's just terrible etiquette.
Yeah, I mean, part of what's so attractive about games like this is it's it's cooperative and competitive at the same time. I mean, obviously it's competitive. Nobody's playing a game to lose. You're trying your hardest to win. But in the process of that, you're also trying to make sure that both you and your opponent are having a positive experience with it. And that goes to what you're saying, David. When you're so stuck in your feelings, in a sense, you're being entirely selfish because the only thing you're thinking about is you. And when once you get to that stage, almost nothing good comes out of that. Um, so let's maybe talk a little bit about if I mean, we've all had experiences, at least at some level. We've all had experiences with opponents who were getting upset or kind of losing track of things. Is there anything you can do when you see the person that you're playing kind of slipping into tilt a little bit? Is there anything that you can do to help them or to try to right the ship somewhat? Alex, what do you think?
It's always so tough in those situations. 'Cause you don't want it to come off as like being a jerk. Like you don't
Right.
want to come off as a jerk, like, hey, calm down, don't be that guy sort of thing. But it's also a situation of like you don't want to change your game and then make it obvious like you're doing worse to make the game better for them, because then at that point it's obvious too, and that's counterproductive. Um, I The only thing that I've come to find that is successful in a tournament aspect and like a competitive aspect is just keep playing, and don't make it any worse. Not because you're a jerk, but it's like there's only so much you can do when it comes to dice. And this is when your opponent wants to keep playing the game. If your opponent wants to keep playing, just play it. But when it gets to a point where you can tell your opponent's not having a good time and you're winning, and it's pretty clear that you're going to win, that's where I've just decided, it's like, hey man, do you want to play it out, or do you just want to call it here, and we can just go ahead and call it, and we'll score it up. But in a casual situation, um, I try to make it as fun as possible again without changing how I play in the aspect of playing worse and making bad decisions on purpose, but more making fun decisions. Like I'm not gonna be like, hey, my apocalypse is gonna go shoot your toad that is doing nothing other than just standing there. Let's go ahead and see if Apocalypse can kick Hulk in the dick. That's probably not the best choice when Hulk's taking 2 damage, but fuck it, let's see if he can do it.
And,
I
and
like
think,
to.
yeah, go ahead,
One
David.
of the things that I like to do is I will try to like either like be like, oh, I'll be enthusiastic about their like successes. Like if their character just like all of a sudden like spikes and kicks the shit out of something, and you're like, oh man, that was cool, that was awesome. Like you just like smashed him into tomorrow, right?
That's another good
I
thing too, David. I do like that. I've done that before. Where it's like, oh
Yeah,
well, you dodged my size 5 Sentinel that I threw into your own team. Like, congrats, because you should never do that.
and and that I think that's a really effective technique, because a lot of times when when you are kind of on that end where you're getting dysregulated, you sort of feel like everything's going against you, and nothing, you're just on a slippery slope. And if you can get your opponent at some level to see, oh, okay, I am still kind of playing the game. I mean, that was a little bit like David when you were talking about at the release event. What got you leveled back up was realizing, oh, I can come back and win this game, and here's how you do it. So I can see how that could be useful. JP, what do you think? Is there any kind of thoughts or strategies or suggestions if you see someone on the other end of the table struggling?
Well, I definitely don't change my play. Like
Mhm.
I would still shoot Toad. Hulk is getting ignored.
Mhm.
I would say I would echo David in that I do celebrate my opponent's rolls when they have good ones and they're kind of on tilt and like lose on the losing end of the game. And I will start apologizing for my rolls if it continues, just to kind of, I don't know, soften the blow, be empathetic. Because I mean, it's like if you're in a tournament setting and you're steamrolling a game, I'd rather be the steamroller than the steamrollee. But
Sure.
like, as far as just enjoyment of the game, I think everybody who plays this game has way more fun if the game is close. So when the game's not close, I'm not having a ton of fun, and it's like, sorry, dude, the dice has just been like kind of shitty this game. Like
Mhm.
they've made it an unfun game.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed in my years of gaming, JP, I get where you're coming from, apologizing for your dice. Uh and I've done that for my dice before, but one thing I've learned, don't apologize for your opponent's dice rolling bad, because then that makes them feel worse.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, and tagging on to what you were talking about the games being more close, I will say that since the crisis change, the my matches have been a lot closer. It's very rare that it's like just a complete blowout on either side.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, that's probably a testament to the game design that AMG had with the new Crisis. I've had that same observation where just the nature of the new crises and the elimination of some of the crises that they did put on the shelf, I think makes it less likely that you're going to get these real silly lopsided games that you would see before.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
only happens when JP rips me a new asshole.
rip and tear, baby.
Thor
Uh,
doing the ripping and the tearing, the ripping and the tearing.
I think taking out the E's was definitely
Yeah.
Helpful for closer score, probably.
I think so.
Because at a certain point, when you get low enough points on the board, it's not even about points anymore. I mean, it kind of is, but it's almost like a secondary thing.
Yeah. When I've had an opponent that was getting frustrated or kind of getting lost, I've kind of tried to do some distraction and a little bit more perspective setting. So like if we're playing a game and uh something one of his models does something to one of my models, I'll talk about how cool that would have looked in the movie and kind of try to just sort of reset things to think about. It's like, okay, these are superhero models on the table, and we're kind of recreating stuff that we've seen in movies and read in comic books. And at least for me, I know that when I start feeling myself getting frustrated, doing something like that helps me kind of reset to zero. Any other thoughts on I mean, I guess it kind of goes into a little broader topic about just etiquette or being a positive player. Any other kind of thoughts just in terms of what your responsibility is to make sure that you're both of you are having an enjoyable experience and how you do that, David?
I will say one of the things, so like if you feel like you're getting closer to tilting, try to do the things that you know work, like for instance, in my game on Friday when I was losing, I had an activation with Nightcrawler where I was like, okay, I can KO Phoenix right now and then just slot machine Nightcrawler into Xavier till he dies. And that's what I did. I didn't reduce any of his, I didn't pay to reduce his dice. I just kept rolling dice. I kept going, okay, I got the trigger. All right, here's 9 dice. All right, here's 10 dice. All right, here's 11 dice. Like, you're going to die eventually. So like going back to the things that you know work are also a valuable tool to have when you feel like nothing can go right.
JP, what do you think in terms of either thoughts about uh, kind of avoiding tilting or just sort of in general about what your obligation is to make the experience better for both players, and if so, how you do it?
I mean, at the I think at the core, everyone's there to have fun, right? So, um, you're kind of doing your opponent a disservice and yourself a disservice by tilting. Unfortunately, tilting isn't something that you choose to do.
Right.
It just kind of happens. You'll get triggered by something. I guess it's. I mean, we're all grown adults. hopefully you have a certain amount of emotional control where you can recognize and adjust your behavior or emotional state a little bit to not completely make it a scene. But I mean, just got to keep things in perspective, you know? Like, don't. I guess it's hard for some people to like maintain focus when they're tilted. It's really not for me. Like, I will feel myself getting emotional, but I'm still playing the game. I'm not getting. There's different kinds of tilt too. Like, some people will be very direct with their emotions, and they'll get angry at their opponent, which is like the worst tilt ever.
Yeah.
And then there's like the highly frustrated tilt where you can like feel this person like being really frustrated, and then there's like kind of the just like the downtrodden tilt where they're just like completely deflated and just like it looks like they're just someone peed in their cornflakes, you know. But I think just like if keeping in mind that both players want to have fun and that the Marvel game has Marvel dice that are all kinds of crazy. I can't tell you the amount of times where somebody was ready to give up on a game that I was either playing in or watching, and I was like, "Don't give up. You can come back. Like the dice have a way. Marvel's a crazy game, and it happens, you know." So taking one snapshot of a game, unless it's like completely backbreaking, you can always come back. Like you might be at a disadvantage, but I mean those disadvantages can reverse pretty quickly in the game. You just got to keep it in perspective.
Alex, what do you, any thoughts in terms of either tilting or just kind of what your role is to make sure that the experience for both players is a good one?
That it's definitely something I've been working on myself, especially with the dice attitude. Because boy, this game is tilty when it comes to, or not tilty, but the swingy with the dice. They can go your way the entire game, and then when it matters, they'll fail you consistently. But it was from one of my tilts that I had with Landon towards the end of the year last year, and it was so bad that I had to walk out of the game room and sit in my car for like 25 minutes. And since that situation, anytime I see the dice really hurting us or hurting me during the game, I'll mention it, but I will try to keep it cool and think of it as I can't control the dice. I'll just control what I can during the game.
Yeah, I know one of the other things, kind of like what David had mentioned too. One of the things that helps me is Pat Dunford's advice about just focus on something that you can control, or even like if you think the game's lost, uh, just kind of find something cool to do. Like, okay, I'm probably not gonna win this game, but I'm sure as hell gonna take Hulk down before I. And then you're playing a new game, and you can have a new success, whether or not whether or not it results in a win for the game or not. You can reorient yourself into so even in games that get away from you, there's successes that you can find, and there's you know I remember when my boys were playing baseball when I was coaching. I can't tell you how many times I would say there's two things that are happening. You're either winning or you're learning. And the more I try to take that attitude towards my play with this, the 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 better the experience that I have, and quite honestly, the better I get at it, because you really do learn more in a loss than you do in a win. So, it's if you're going to take an L, then go to school on it and try to find out why you did what you did wrong and how you can improve your game for the next time.
I think that's
Any
really good.
kind
I think that's really good advice.
well, I've had lots of practices with L's on this, so it's been helpful for me. Any kind of last thoughts on tilting or etiquette in general, David?
Well, to add on to what you were saying, if you're like in the state where you're like gonna lose the game, then just or where at least where you feel like you are, don't be afraid to try something different that you hadn't done before. That also it could lead you into plays later on where you're like, oh, that actually worked. Maybe I could try to do that more often.
JP?
I mean, your opponent can't control their dice either. So, I mean, I think everybody's been on the opposite end of it, where your opponent's tilting because your dice are good. So, it's just a thing that swings both ways.
Yep. Alex? Oh my God, Alex is tilted.
He had to go sit in the parking lot.
I sneezed, guys. Sorry, I didn't want to sneeze in the microphone.
I like my version of it way better.
Alex is
That's
allergic
fair.
to tilt.
I did walk
He's
out
allergic to
at some
tilt.
point. But
What do you think, Alex?
what I was saying was, or what I was going to say was, we're all human. We're emotional creatures. Tilting happens. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You're not a bad person for doing it. But yeah, it's really just don't feel bad for doing it. Just learn from it and just try to learn from it. That's all I can say. In I guess the negative part of tilting, but if you can learn from it, it makes you overall just a better opponent. And if you can move on from it, even better.
Webheads, what do you think? We would very much like to hear your experiences with this, your thoughts about it. If you've got some techniques that help you keep yourself regulated or help kind of pull you out of things if things are spiraling, or if you got ideas in terms of how to help an opponent that's doing that, we'd love to hear it. You can reach us by email at wittybantercast@gmail.com. You can find us on all the socials at wittybantercast. And you can find us at patreon.com/wittybantercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support us, help us keep doing this, as well as get some cool events and some cool stuff for yourself as well. So, thanks for coming along for the ride, Webheads. Until next time, be good.